Hi guys, it's Mrs. Tucker. This is a video review for tomorrow's test. This is Unit 1, comparing and ordering rational numbers, your positives and your negatives, and also scientific notation. Okay? So I know we got this started in class today. We didn't get all the way through it. And I told you I would send you out a video review. So I'm going to go back over everything I covered in class for anyone who was absent and pick it up from there. I want you to notice the review has an answer bank in the back. So as you're getting your answers, cross them off, all right? And there's going to be more answers on the back than we have problems, so keep that in mind. Okay, the first question says, which is largest, which is smallest? Put them in order from least to greatest. I've got 3/11, 1/5, 0.63, and 1/4. The thing I notice, they're all positive. The other thing I notice is I've got 3 fractions and a decimal. Okay, I think what I want to do is convert them all to decimals and extend them all out to the hundredths place and compare them that way. So the first thing I notice is 1/4, and I've got that one memorized. You should too. What's 1/4 of a dollar? Yeah, it's 25 cents, so 1/4 is the same as 0.25. The next one I notice is 1/5, and I've been wanting you guys to remember your fifths this year, okay? If we have a hand, it has 5 fingers on it. Ooh, that's an ugly finger. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's my hand. It's got 5 fingers on it. Here's 1/5, 2/5. This one makes 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5. Okay? In decimal form, this is 0.2, 0.4. This one's going to be what? 0.6, 0.8, 1 whole. So 1/5 is the same as what? Yeah, it's the same as 0.2. Now, since the 0.63 is out to the hundredths place, put that one to the hundredths place. Throw in an extra 0. Now, the 3/11ths, I don't have that one memorized. I know it's smaller than a half. It's going to be smaller than 0.5, but I don't know how it compares to these other two. So I'm actually going to have to take 3 and divide by 11. Which number goes in the house? Bow tie, bottoms out, tops in. Bottoms out, tops in. I know some of my kids this year are saying top dog goes in the house. You know, whatever it takes. Now, I want you to pause the video right here. Pause your video and show me this work on your paper. I want to see you do it. Pause the video, start it, and we'll compare our numbers. Did you get this? And did you round to the hundredths place? What does that 8 make the 2 do? Does it stay a 2 or does it round up to a 3? Yes, it's going to round up to a 3. So 3/11ths is the same as 0.43. Now I can answer the questions. Which is the largest number? 0.43, 0.20, 0.63, or 0.25? Yeah, my largest is 0.63. Is that in your answer bank? Find it, scratch it out. Which is the smallest? Of these numbers, you know, you can pause this video whenever you want to and finish this out and then start it up again. Which is the smallest number? Is it 25, 20, or 43? Yeah, it's going to be 0.20, which is 1/5. Find that and scratch it out in the answer bank. Now order from least to greatest. And you just said your smallest was 1/5. You just said your largest was 0.63. I need 2 more numbers. One right there and one right there. Okay, so it's 0.2. What comes next? Yep, 1/4. Got that one, got that one. I've got this one placed. So the last one is the 0.43 or 3/11ths. All right. Is that in your answer bank? All right, let's move on. All right, we've got this set of numbers. -3/8, -0.4, -1/5, -5/6. I notice they're all negative. And here's where things get tricky. My strategy for you is to graph them all on a number line, and the first thing I want you to do is make these all positive. Let's make them all positive. Let's start off with positive 0.4, positive 1/5, positive 3/8, positive 5/6. Graph them on the number line and then reflect them across 0 to find where the negative is at, and then you can answer the questions. Okay, well, I've got positive 0.4, so I need to make myself a number line. Pause the video, make yourself a number line. Okay, now I'm going to put in where 1/2 goes, because that's a benchmark fraction, okay? I'm going to reflect that same distance across 0 and put in what over here? I'm going to put -1/2. This distance here reflects across 0 to give you your opposite number. Positive 1/2 and -1/2 are opposites. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I notice that this is 0.4 or 4/10. I'm going to take this whole from 0 to 1 and I'm going to divide it up into 10 pieces. All right, 5 on this side and 5 on this side. So pause the video and you do that. Now it's easy to plot your 0.4. This is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 1 whole. Where does 0.4 go? Oh, and I did the same thing over here. Divided it in 10 equal pieces. Okay, there's my positive 0.4. Do you see how it is 1, 2, 3? It's 4 tick marks to the right of 0. Then negative 0.4 is going to be 4 tick marks to the left of 0. Put negative 0.4 right there. All right, we've got that one graphed. Let's do negative 1/5. First, we're going to plot positive 1/5, and I want you to convert it to a decimal first. Remember that 5-finger trick? 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 1 whole. 1/5 is the same as what decimal? Or you could do it this way. That's the long way. Bottoms out, tops in. Throw in a decimal point. What do you get? Yeah, 0.2. All right. Can we graph 0.2? Sure enough. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. Where does 0.2 go? Positive 0.2 is right there. It's 2 tick marks to the right of 0. Reflect it 2 tick marks to the left of 0. If this went 1, 2 to the right, negative 0.2 is 1, 2 to the left. Put negative 0.2 right there. Okay? Moving on, 3/8. I happen to have 3/8 memorized as a decimal. It'd be handy if you did too. If you don't have it memorized, it's okay. We're going to do bottoms out, tops in, top dog goes in the house. We're going to do this right here. Pause the video and do that on your own. If you do it on your own, chances are that you'll memorize it. Did you get 0.375? This is the same as 0.375, but I went ahead and rounded it to the hundredths place. So let's graph positive 0.38. Okay, here we go. Positive 0.1, positive 0.2, positive 0.3, positive 0.4. Where does positive 0.38 go? About right there. Now let's make it negative. Let's make this negative. Let's reflect this across 0. It was 1, 2, 3, almost a 4. We're going to go in the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, almost a 4. Put negative 0.3 or negative 3/8 right there. And I want to write negative 3/8. I forgot to do that. All right? Let's keep going. Let's see here. That gets out 5/6. I want you to compare 5/6 to 1/2 because if you've noticed, so far all of our fractions fell between 0 and 1/2 here, or they fell between 0 and -1/2 over here. Compare 5/6 to 1/2. How many 6 make a half? What's half of 6? Yeah, let me put this over on the other side. This is the same as 3/6. Is 5/6 smaller than 3/6 or is 5/6 bigger than 3/6? Yeah, it's bigger. So I know that positive 5/6 lands out in here somewhere. All right? And on this one, it doesn't matter if you get it exact, does it? So let's put 5/6 right there. And actually, if you convert it to a decimal, it's 0.83. So we're going to take 5/6 and reflect it way over here. I want you to reflect it across 0. There's your -5/6, and now we can answer the question. And let me go back and call this -3/8. Now, which number is largest? When you're talking a number line, your numbers get bigger going in this direction. The farther you move to the right, the bigger the number gets. If you're talking negatives, the number closest to 0 is the biggest, okay? If you're talking just negatives. And of course, you know the farther you get on the positive side, the bigger the number gets. So let's take a look at our fractions. Which one is the largest? Well, I just said the closer it is to 0, the larger it gets. So of all of those, the largest one is that one right there. And -0.2 was the same as what fraction? -1/5. That's your largest. Okay, now which one's your smallest? Well, if you start to the left and go right and your negatives get bigger and bigger and bigger going this way, then they get smaller and smaller and smaller going this way. So your smallest fraction, your smallest negative fraction is this one, -5/6. Okay, almost done with this one. Question number 6 says, put them in order from greatest to least. Greatest to least. Your greatest number is this one here. We just said it's the biggest. So -1/5 is the biggest. We just said which one's the smallest. Yep, -5/6. So starting here, which fraction came next? If we're moving backwards, we get to this one next, -3/8. Okay, so we've moved to here. The next one we get to going backwards is this one here, -0.4. And if you keep going, then our next one is that one. Oh my gosh, that was a lot of work. This is what they expect you to do on the STAR test. Okay? You have to be able to compare and order those negative fractions and decimals. All right? This is the easiest way I can think of to teach you how to do it. Are we good on that? Okay, we are moving on. Moving on, moving on. Answer the following with a less than, greater than, or equal to sign. They look like they're all fractions, and here's my strategies. You can either use common denominators or that butterfly or bottoms up thing you guys like to do. You can change them all to decimals if you like. Compare them to 1/2. Now, if you have negatives, use a number line because your thinking has to be backwards on which one's bigger and which one's smaller. If they're both negative, the number closest to 0 is the bigger number. Okay? Right here, you could use common denominators. These aren't, well, for me, these are easy to convert to decimals. Using the 5-finger trick, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, I know that's 0.8. And when we did our fraction and decimal strips, I know the ninths are special. 8/9 is 0.8 repeating, which is 0.88, and this is 0.80. Which one's bigger? Yeah, that one's going to be bigger. All right? Okay, let's compare -1/4 and negative 2/11. Okay, here's where things get a little tricky. Remember, you got to kind of think backwards. I'm going to put 0 right there and negative 1 right there. Well, I probably should have extended this in case you want to reflect. So I'll extend it over here and make that positive 1. So 0, 1, negative 1. If I made that positive 1/4, okay, here's a half. Divide these into fourths. Here's positive 1/4. So if you reflect it, here's a half, or negative 1/2, negative 3/2, or I'm sorry, negative 3/4, negative 1/4, reflected across 0, and right here is negative 1/4. Okay? 2/11. If I make it positive 2/11, I'm going to do this, because I don't have this one memorized, but it's real easy to do. 11 and 20, it won't go in there twice, so it's only once. 20 subtract 11 is 9. Throw in a 0, bring it down. 11 into 90 only goes in there 8 times, because 8 times 11 is 88. So that's 0.18. It's less than 0.2. If it's positive, if this is 0.25, I know that one's got to be somewhere in here. So here is 2/11. Okay? Let's reflect that on the other side of 0. So right in here would be negative 2/11. Which one of these two numbers, negative 1/4 or negative 2/11, is closest to 0? Because that's your largest number. They get larger going in that direction. Yep, so negative 2/11 is greater. Okay? All right. Right here, I have a positive, I have a negative. Which one's bigger? Yep, the positive is always bigger than the negative. Okay? All right, let's move on. Use the following numbers for questions number 10 through 12. 3/5, negative 1/4, 1/3, negative 5/6. Order from greatest to least. We want greatest to least. All right? One thing I noticed about these 4 numbers, half of them are positive and half of them are negative. So let's separate them into 2 piles, our positives and our negatives. Okay? I know my positives are going to be bigger than our negatives. So for ordering greatest to least, I know these positives are going to come first, right here, and right here, and right here. Comes the negatives and another negative. All right? So what we need to do is let's plot 3/5 and 1/3 first. Okay? Is 3/5 bigger than a half or less than a half? How many fifths are a half? What's half of 5? Half of 5 is 2.5. Is 3/5 bigger than a half or less than a half? Yeah, that one's going to be bigger than a half. What about 1/3? How many thirds compares to a half? What's half of 3? Yeah, 1.5 over 3 is the same as a half. So is 1/3 bigger than a half or smaller than a half? Yep, that's going to be smaller. So I know 3/5 is somewhere out here, and I know 1/3 is somewhere over here. And if we're ordering greatest to least, which one's our biggest number? Yep, 3/5 is going to come first. Don't forget, greatest to least is what it said. You've really got to check this out. So then the next smallest number is positive 1/3. Okay, now we've got to do our negatives, and I bet you already know which one of those is closest to 0. Okay, positive 1/4 is halfway between 0 and a half. Here's positive 1/4. So if you reflect it over, here's negative 1/4. And 5/6, positive 5/6 is real close to a whole, isn't it? Yeah, and didn't we say it was like 0.83? That's going to be here, so negative 5/6 is over here. Okay, so we're doing greatest to least, we're going backwards. We've got our 3/5, we're going backwards. We've got our 1/3, what comes next? Here is negative 1/4. And what comes next? Yeah, our smallest is -5/6. Okay. Got that? Pause the video at any time. Okay, it says which fraction is between 1/4 and 4/11. Well, I know it can't be what? Yeah, it can't be those negatives. Can't be the negatives. So I'm looking at these two numbers, and I want to know which one's between 1/4, which is the same as 0.25, and 4/11. Okay, well, 4/11. What should we do with that? I don't know. Do you want to change it to a decimal? Which number goes in the house? You know, it's real easy to divide by 11, isn't it? Yeah. 11 times what gets you close to 44 but not over? Yeah, that'd be 3. That gives you 33. I can already tell right now it's going to be 0.3 something, right? Let's keep going though, because 1/3 is 0.33333. Subtract here. 40, subtract 33 is 7. Bring down a 0. 11 times what gets you close to 70 without going over? Yeah, that's going to be a 6. 66. Subtract 70, subtract 66 is 40. If you brought down another 0, that'd be 3. So this is the same as 0.36. Which one of these positive fractions do you absolutely know falls between those two numbers? Yeah, it's 1/3, because 1/3 the point is same as 0.33, or 0.3 repeating. So your answer here is 1/3. Okay? All right. Let me erase all of this because it's starting to get kind of busy. The question down here, which fraction is between -4/5 and -8/9? And I've got these two negative fractions. Aren't positive 4/5 and positive 8/9, if you were to graph it on the number line, are they both bigger than 0? I'm sorry. How do they compare to 1/2? Yeah, they're both going to fall in this section here, okay? So if you make them both negative, then on the negative side, they're both going to fall between here. And didn't we say -1/4 is right here? And we said -1/5/6 is right here. Which fraction falls between -4/5 and -8/9? Yeah, it's that one right there. Didn't having it on the number line, wasn't that super handy? Yeah, that was super handy, Mrs. Tucker. Okay, moving on. Let's do some scientific notation. Write this number in scientific notation. Well, scientific notation is some factor times powers of 10. Is this a big number or a small number? Because if it's a big number, meaning a number bigger than 1, your exponent on your power of 10 is positive. If this is a decimal between 0 and 1, I'm going to call it a small number, your exponent is negative. Well, that's a big number, so my exponent here is positive. Now the rule says the number you put out front here has to have these same digits, but it has to be between 1 and 10. So my decimal point right now is here. I'm going to pick it up and put it right here, because isn't 2.3101 between 1 and 10? Yep, it sure is. So the exponent here, right here, is how many places you move the decimal point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the biggest mistake kids make is counting how many decimal places. Do this real slow, do it in pencil, erase it and do it one more time to make sure you didn't make a mistake there. So our answer is 2.3101 times 10 to the 10th power. Okay, write this number that's in scientific notation, write it in standard notation, just a regular old number. Well, the first thing I look at is the exponent. Remember, we did that also here? Look at the sign of the exponent. Our exponent here is negative. That means it's going to be a small number. It's going to be a decimal. A decimal that's smaller than 1 but bigger than 0. Okay, so I'm going to take 1.567 and I'm going to move the decimal point 4 places, either to the right or to the left. Which way am I going to move it to make it a small number? Yeah, I need to move it 4 places to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. What do I put in these little dips? Yeah, some zeros. So our answer is 0.0001567. Okay? Number 15. Aaron Rodgers will earn $7,250,000 this year, that many dollars, playing for the Green Bay Packers. What is this in scientific notation? Okay, is it a big number or is it a small number? It is big, so should the exponent on the 10 be positive or negative? Yep, it should be positive. We're going to pick up the decimal point, which is currently right here, and we're going to park it in that number so the number's between 1 and 10. If I put it right here, 0.725 is smaller than 1. If I put the decimal point here, 72.5 is bigger than 10. I'm going to put it right here. 7.25. Now you count how far you move the decimal point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Double check your count. Go back, erase it, check it again. All right, or do it across the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Double check, because a lot of kids will get that exponent wrong. 16, how would you express that number in scientific notation? Is it a big number or is it small? That's pretty small, so our exponent should be what? Yeah, the exponent's going to be negative. So let's make it negative. We're going to pick up the decimal point and put it where in the number to make the number out front here, the factor bigger than 1 but less than 10. If I put it here, I have 0.217. That's less than 1. If I put it here, that's 21.7. That's bigger than 10. If I put it here, that's 217. That's way bigger than 10. I'm going to put it right here because that's the rule. 2.17. Now you count how far you move the decimal point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? 3.1 times 10 to the 5th. Is your exponent positive or negative? It's positive. Is this a big or small number? I'm going to move the decimal point 5 places which way to make this a big number? Yeah, to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Drop yourself in some zeros, and your number is 310, comma, 0, 0, 0. Okay? Moving on. Marcia has 30% chance to win a game. Paul has 1/3 of a chance of winning. Nick has 9/25 of a chance to win, and Olga has 0.35 of a chance to win, or 3/500ths. Who's most likely to lose the game? We're not looking for the winner, we're looking for the loser. Okay, you know what? I think I'm going to convert all these to decimals. What are you thinking? 30% is 30 out of 100, which is the same as 0.30. You should have 1/3 memorized. That's 0.3 repeating, but take it out to the hundredths place and you get 0.33. 9/25 is the same as how many hundredths? Well, take your 25 and multiply by 4 and you get 100. So multiply this by 4 and you get what? Yep, and convert that to a decimal. Okay, so we're looking for who's most likely to lose the game. That means the one that has the lowest chance of winning. I've got 0.35, 0.36, 0.33, and 0.30. Which one's the smallest? Yeah, 0.30, which is 30%, which is Marcia. Marcia is most likely to lose the game. Okay, several stores are having a store on number 19. The prices are reduced by 66.6%, 3/4, 80%, 1/2, and 9/10. Order the price reductions from greatest price reduction to the least. Okay, I don't know, what form do you want it in? Fraction form, decimal form, percent form? 3/4 is 0.75, which is what percent? Yeah, that's 75%. I've got 66.6%, 75%, 80%. 1/2 is what is a decimal? Yeah, 0.5 or 0.50, which is what percent? Yep, that's 50%. And 9/10 is the same as 90/100, which is what percent? 90%. Okay, we're ordering from greatest to least. Which is your biggest one here? Yeah, 90% or 9/10. Which comes next? It looks like 80% comes next. Okay, getting smaller, we're going to go to 3/4. Getting smaller, 66.6%. And the smallest one is 1/2. Yeah, there we go. Okay, number 20. Evaluate the expression. Evaluate means find the value of. These are absolute value bars. Absolute value is asking you what's the distance that number is from 0. And distance is always positive. So the distance of negative 32 from 0 is 32 units. The distance of positive 20 from 0 is 20 units. Add those together and you get 52. All right, and we're reviewing this. We want to see how you guys do with your integers. We're going to add or subtract. I have negative 25 plus 47. Do you know that 25 of these positives here hook up with 25 of these negatives here and become 0? So I want to know how many positives are left over. So let's take out 25 of those positives. 22 positives are left behind. All right, same thing here. I have 15 positives. I'm adding 35 negatives to it. Do you know 35 of these negatives hook up with 35 of the positives and become 0 pairs? Yeah, so I'm left with negative something, and I want to take 15 of those negatives out of the 35. I'm left with negative 20. All right, I have negative 7. I'm subtracting 8. Did you know subtracting is the same as adding the opposite? So here I'm going to add a line and change the sign. I have 7 negative chips here. I'm adding 8 more negative chips here for a total of 15 negative chips. Did you know that subtracting is the same as adding the opposite? What's the opposite of negative 9? Yeah, let's add a line and change the sign, and I have 12 plus 9, which is 21. Okay? Next, evaluate the expression. Find the value of. E-value. Let's find the value of. Okay, I have parentheses. You got to do that first. 30 subtract 25 is 5. So I have 3 squared subtract 5. We're going to do our exponents next. 3 squared is not 6. It's what? 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract 5 is 4. Yeah, you guys should do this whole section first. Pause the video, do the whole section, come back and look at the answer. Number 7, do what's in your parentheses first. Okay, this is 20. 7 squared is not 14. What is it? Yeah, that's 49 right there. What's 49? Subtract 9. That whole thing becomes 40. Okay, now we do multiplication and division in order from left to right. And I see division right there. 40 divided by 20 is 2. Don't do this first. I'm going to take 8 plus 2 minus this 2 right here. Do it in order from left to right. This 8 plus 2 gives you 10, and 10 minus 2 is 8. Okay? A football team has the ball on its own 20-yard line. Here's the end zone down here. Here's the 10-yard line. Here's the 20-yard line. This is their 20-yard line. You know, you have to know football in order to do this question, so this question really isn't fair. If they're in their own 20-yard line, it says what yard line will the ball be on after they gain 5 yards on a running play? They are in their own and they're moving in that direction. So after a 5-yard gain, where are they at? Yeah, the 25-yard line. If you didn't know anything about football, you might have gone the other way and said 15. Okay, number 9. If Lee is 5 foot 2 inches tall and Sue is 5 feet 5 inches tall, write an expression that could be used to determine the difference in their heights. We're subtracting. Okay, we could do 5 feet 2 inches. No, we're not going to subtract that. Aren't we going to take the taller person first? 5 feet 5 inches and subtract 5 feet 2 inches. But we can't, well, I guess we could do inches and feet because the 5s are the same. You might want to convert feet into inches. How many inches are in a foot? Yeah, 12. So if you took 12 times 5, you get 60 inches. So this is really 60 inches plus the 5 more, 65. Subtract, that's 60 inches plus 2 more is 62. Either one of those. This is probably the one I would go with. There's an expression. They didn't ask you for the answer. They said write an expression. That's a numerical expression right there. Okay? This might be in the answer bank. I don't know which one is. Order the integers in this set from least to greatest. Well, we've already talked about negatives, right? Here's 0. The closer the negatives are to 0, the bigger it is. Negative 101, that's going to be way out here. Negative 9 looks like it's going to be the closest to 0. Negative 45 and negative 81. Negative 45 is closer to 0 than negative 81 is. Oh, that's supposed to be a 101. Okay. Then I'm going to put 12 here, and I'm going to put 20 here. And if we're ordering them from least to greatest, that right there's your answer. Least to greatest. Number 11, write an equation that represents the following. The cost of a book purchased online plus $5 shipping comes to a total of $29. The cost of a book. I don't know what the cost of the book is, so I'm going to let X represent the cost of the book. X, the cost of the book, plus $5 shipping comes to a total of how much? Yep, 29 bucks. All right. What is the distance between negative 7 and positive 2? Negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's negative 7. Positive 2. If that's 0, 1, 2, that's positive 2. They want to know the distance between these two. Can you see what the distance? Oh, distance is always positive. What's the distance between the two numbers? Yeah, basically you're taking 2 and subtracting negative 7. Add a line, change the sign. Your answer is 9 units. Multiplying. Negative times negative is what? Positive. Yeah, here's where this little thing comes in if you want to use it. Negative times negative is positive, so your answer here is positive 70. Okay, do these in order from left to right. Negative 4 times positive 4. Negative times positive is negative. 4 times 4 is 16. Now take 16 times 6. What's a negative multiplied by a negative, positive. Negative times positive, negative. 16 times 6, if you do 16 times 6, you get 36. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, negative 96. All right. Raul has $57 in his bank account. He just wrote 2 checks for bills, one for $32 and the other for $29. How much money will Raul have after he pays his bills? Let's add these two together to see what his total bills came to. Add those together and you get $61. He paid $61. He only had $57 in his account. He had $57 in his account. He wrote a check. He took out $61. How much does he have left in his account? Yeah, he's in the negatives now, isn't he? If you want to add a line, change the sign. 57 of these 61 negatives hook up with the 57 positives and become 0 pairs. How many negatives are left? Take the difference between these two numbers. Okay? 7, that's 4. Let's see, that's 5. That's a difference of 4. Okay? He's $4 in debt. All right, we're dividing. Positive divided by negative is what? Negative 9. What's negative divided by negative? Positive what? Yeah. Do this if you have to. Top dog goes in the house. If you have to do that, do that. Evaluate the expression if A is 5, B is 6, and C is 7. 2 times A minus 4 times B minus whatever C is. What do they want you to use for A? That goes there. What do they want you to use for B? B is going to go here. What do they want you to use for C? Yeah, 7 goes here. We're going to multiply before we subtract. 2 times 5 is 10. 6 times 4, 24. Subtract 7. What is 10? Subtract 24. You can add a line, change the sign anywhere you see subtraction. When you add those together, you get what? Yep, negative 14. What's negative 14 plus negative 7? We get negative what? Is that what you got? Okay. I'm going to erase this. Pause the video if you need to. Back it up and pause it. All right. A is being multiplied by everything inside the parentheses. So A goes here inside the parentheses. Well, what is A? A is 5. They want B and they want you to square it. B is 6. So 6 squared. They want you to take 2 times C, 2 times 7, and then subtract A squared. A is 5, 5 squared. Okay, do what's inside this set of parentheses first. 6 times 6, that's not 12. That's 36. 2 times 7, that's 14. What is 36? Subtract 14. Okay, that's 22. So I have 5 times, this turns out to be 22. Subtract, okay, let's do 5 squared. What's 5 squared? 5 times 5 is 25. We're going to multiply before we subtract. Take 22, multiply by 5. What do you get? And then we're going to subtract 25. That's the last step. You do that. I'm not going to do it for you. I'm getting tired here. Positives are all, decide whether the number sentence is true or false. Positives are always greater than negatives. That one's false. The absolute value of negative 5 is positive 5. Is positive 5 less than 7? That one's true. And I think we're done. All right. Good luck, guys, on the test tomorrow.